pretty decent start. Sebastian Vettel on the outside of Lewis Hamilton, heading into turn 1. Can Vettel pull it off? No, Hamilton gains the position back, but Freddie got up to a storming launch there. Runs a bit wide. Sebastian Vettel makes his way back through Carlos Sainz, and oh dear. You can see here, coming out the pit lane, way ahead of Freddie, we got Verstappen, I believe, along with Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas. And they seem to be way ahead of Freddie at the moment. He's only coming around the last corner. The safety car is out with only 7 laps to go here.
Safety car in this lap, still enough time to salvage something. Come on, Freddie.
But here is Freddie now, absolutely desperate to get these points, so close to the points in the last couple of corners. He's going to dive up the side of Larascas here on Sergio Perez and also Fernando Alonso. He somehow managed to pull that up. And also there's Jordan King. What is going on here? The gap's opened up for Freddie and he's taken full advantage. He's going to come home in P8. So guys, here I am today with episode number 7 of the Freddie Gray career mode, season number 4, the F1 2017 season. This time we are here for Montreal, the Canadian Grand Prix. Obviously last time out, Freddie Gray having a very tough day at the office on the streets of Monaco, just about securing points at the very last, in the closing stages of that race. Some very questionable driving there, a lot of criticism going Freddie's way for his aggression on that final lap. He has received a warning from the stewards for his actions, so he can't really get away with anything like that in the future. But I think Freddie was just desperate to kind of claw back some sort of reward from what was a very tough day overall. But yeah, he's hoping for better in Montreal, and his pace round there in the past has been quite positive indeed, so he is hoping for much better. But guys, just to touch on very quickly, sorry for the inconsistency. Again, don't be too surprised there is a couple of weeks break between these videos, and also I do have a preview/review series planned for the real life F1 races. So hopefully when that comes out we can get a lot of discussion going in the comments. So yes guys, that's about it then. Let's get into the qualifying report now, the Canadian Grand Prix. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve marked the point at which we are now a third of the way through the 2017 season. Freddie Gray has found proceedings much tougher in 2017, yet to seal a race victory, but a blistering lap time saw him top the timesheet to secure pole position with a 1:11.9. Red Bull's recent upturn in form filled both drivers with confidence, with Verstappen lining up alongside Freddie Gray on the front row, with Daniel Ricciardo on row 2 just ahead of the charging Hamilton. The most impressive display in Montreal was Stoffel Van Dorn, who would start 5th after a storming lap that would see him light up the timesheets for McLaren, as the Belgian season continues to go from strength to strength. Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel set identical times, but both the Finn and the 2 Ferraris were low down in the top 10. While Danny Kvyat's solid season continued, with the Russian once again out-qualifying Carlos Sainz and securing a Q3 place in the process. A minuscule margin separated those from 16th to 20th, with both runners unable to repeat their qualifying heroics from Monaco. With the one-stop strategy set to be the favoured option for the teams, tyre management would be crucial, as all cars in the top 12 would start on the fastest ultra-soft compound. Antonio Giovinazzi made it 6-1 in the qualifying battle over Kevin Magnussen, although interestingly the race battle was 4-2 in the Danes' favour. Manor's performance indicates serious gains have been made on the midfield, and that their Monaco pace wasn't a fluke, and it would be Renault and Alfa Romeo occupying the final 2 rows of the grid for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. So a second pole position of the season then for Freddie Gray here at the Canadian Grand Prix. Actually a very important race today, especially as we are now at the 3rd waypoint through the season, and Freddie's beginning to lose touch, especially with the top guys in the Drivers' Championship. If he wants to defend that title, he really does need to up his game today in Canada, and he has that perfect opportunity starting on the front row of the grid from pole position. But let's see how it all goes here in Canada. Obviously a lot of challenges will be mounted up from behind. You've got the likes of Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton I'm sure will come through, and a couple of other guys who didn't perform so well in qualifying a bit further down the field, like the 2 Ferraris. I'm expecting those to be up there as well. But now on the formation lap, of course, as per usual, warming up the tyres, just making sure that everything is at the optimum temperature, and hopefully Freddie today can get a very positive result.
We're in prime position today, Freddie. All the best out there.
Indeed, Freddie is basically in prime position. You can see behind there, Stoffel Van Dorn starting an incredible P5. Obviously, guys, I've got some updated liveries in there for the Ferrari, the Red Bull, the Toro Rosso, and also the Haas as well. So hopefully you like those, as we are now lining up on the grid As you can see, Freddie basically pointing his car towards Max Verstappen, so that's basically where he has his attention turned to for the start of this race. He's trying to fend off Max Verstappen heading into turn 1 as the lights are now building up for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix, and we are underway now. Freddie getting off to a very good start, Verstappen getting off to a poor launch, and Ricciardo has already launched ahead of his teammate, as well as Lewis Hamilton heading into turn number 1. Freddie maintains the lead, but Hamilton behind has overtaken Verstappen, I think. Verstappen losing 2 places, Verstappen actually seemingly not being the main threat at the start of the Grand Prix. As we go through the chicane for the first time today, Freddie maintaining the lead ahead of Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton. However, there is a yellow flag behind, and it looks like we've got a virtual safety car, and Sebastian Vettel is out of the race. So that is actually quite a crucial thing, because Vettel is obviously second place in the Drivers' Championship. He's had a very strong season indeed, so that is huge that he is already out. Let's see what happened here to Sebastian Vettel side by side with Valtteri Bottas, and Vettel just didn't seem to turn into the corner. He just seemed to get a load of understeer and just went straight into the wall and lost his front right tyre. And Carlos Sainz, you can see there, only just missing the melee. Sorry, Danny Kvyat, that was in fact the Russian there in the Toro Rosso. But now on to the end of lap 2, Freddie running a little bit wide into the hairpin, and you have Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton up his gearbox here. Lewis Hamilton still a little bit further back, but at this point Freddie wasn't finding it as easy as he found it in qualifying. The qualifying pace was absolutely insane. However, he's really struggling at the moment with the brakes, running wide again at the hairpin, and now Daniel Ricciardo is really mounting up the pressure here on Freddie. I'm expecting him to make a move here very soon. Red Bull not the best in the straight line, but with the DRS open and the slipstream effect in full advance here, I'm expecting Ricciardo to make a move here up the inside, which he is doing now. The Australian's up the inside, but Freddie just about defends it there on the outside, having to slow himself down significantly, but once again does keep Ricciardo at bay for the time being. You can see Verstappen there actually also overtaking Lewis Hamilton, so Verstappen also making some gains as well. So perhaps Red Bull do have the race pace. They are the fastest car at the moment, seemingly ahead of Williams and Mercedes as well. But once again, Freddie's running wide. Is there some sort of braking problem for him there? That's certainly what it seems like at the moment, as you can see here. Daniel Ricciardo here, the Australian, side by side with Freddie Gray at the moment, heading down the back straight. Ricciardo has the DRS open, but Freddie's still pulling away with that low drag setup that he has on his car this weekend. There's Verstappen also challenging these guys, but once again it seems like the rear brakes locking up. Is there a braking problem for Freddie Gray? It does definitely seem that way at the moment, as the pressure is continuing to mount up here from behind. Daniel Ricciardo to the inside of turn number 1, but thinks better of it for the time being. But on lap 5, it is continuous pressure once again, like it has been throughout this whole season. It really is going to be an uphill task this season if Freddie Gray is going to win the World Championship. Max Verstappen, the Dutchman, there making a move up the inside of his teammate, and Verstappen makes the move stick up into P2, and the Red Bulls continue to be rampant here. Their pace is absolutely soaring in these early stages of the Canadian Grand Prix. The Dutchman Max Verstappen up the inside of the Honey Badger Daniel Ricciardo, and Lewis Hamilton also challenging at the moment in P4, with I believe Lance Stroll currently in P5 battling with Valtteri Bottas. Ricciardo at the moment in P3, but Verstappen going up the inside of turn 1 here. He's actually seeking the opportunity down the inside. There goes Verstappen down the inside of turn 1. Freddie Gray leaving all the room, staying tight to the curb on the inside of turn 2. He can't actually see where Verstappen is at the moment. Where is Max Verstappen? He can't see him in his mirrors, can't see the proximity arrows. Now heading into the next corner, into the chicane, Verstappen makes the move stick. Perhaps Freddie was a little bit tentative there, but you can't really blame him due to the fact he couldn't see Verstappen at that point. But here is a replay here of that move by Max Verstappen. Fair play to the Dutchman there. That is a couple of positions gained. He goes all the way from 3rd to 1st in just the space of a lap. Fair play to him for making that move stick around the outside. A very aggressive manoeuvre there from Verstappen, but you know, a very nice one at the same time. It wasn't too dirty of him. He made it stick very cleanly. So fair play to Verstappen. And now on the end, towards the end of lap 7, it's now more pressure behind from Daniel Ricciardo and also Lewis Hamilton. So in fact, it is Lewis Hamilton, unbelievably, but Freddie pulls off an amazing switchback there and regains P2 just like that. And in fact, it's Bottas in P4, so Ricciardo has dropped back even more. Here is Lewis Hamilton now on the outside. Bottas could potentially go for it up the inside. Here is Freddie on the inside of Lewis Hamilton. He actually goes across the sort of bunny hops across the final chicane there. Not quite sure if he went off the track to do that, but you've got to assume that he has done. He's going to let Lewis Hamilton through now, which he has on the inside as Lewis Hamilton heading into turn number 1, now into turn 2. Freddie on the inside trying to hang Lewis Hamilton out dry. In fact, Bottas has made full advantage of that, and he's now up into P3, so constant position changes here in the Canadian Grand Prix. I just can't quite keep up at this point. This first stint has been absolutely mental so far, and it seems like it's going to continue to be so. Bottas on the outside, Freddie quite clearly struggling with some sort of problem.
Okay, mate, we have a problem with the brakes. We need to nurse this issue. It could get critical.
So, as expected, there is a braking problem with the Williams here, Freddie Gray's car, and that's why he has to be a little bit more tentative going into corners. That is why he sometimes runs wide, and we saw on the opening laps, he was running wide constantly into the hairpin, and once again, here he has Lewis Hamilton behind him. Freddie going a little bit wide again, leaving Lewis Hamilton the gap open to make an opportunity stick, but there is Lewis Hamilton. Once again, Freddie Gray getting a bit out of shape, but Hamilton thankfully not taking advantage of that. He does have the DRS open now, however, the DRS and the slipstream effect there, and Lewis Hamilton has made his way up into P3, but Freddie Gray is going to try and defend it around the outside. That is definitely an illegal overtaking manoeuvre there. Freddie's going to give that position back, but he also concedes to Lance Stroll, Bottas, and also Daniel Ricciardo. That's 4 positions there he has lost in just a matter of moments, but he swiftly replies, going down the inside of Valtteri Bottas and Daniel Ricciardo, in fact overtaking Bottas as well. Now I believe Verstappen did actually pit on the last lap, which could indicate a 2-stop strategy for him, but just to point out there, Lance Stroll, our teammate, is now in the lead of the Grand Prix. Unbelievable scenes here. Now we are on board with Lance Stroll at the moment. You can see here Freddie Gray getting a bit out of shape, Lewis Hamilton having to slow down also for the ever slowing Freddie Gray, and Lance Stroll taking full opportunity there. A brilliant move, and the young Canadian there, the 18-year-old, is up into first position, leading for the first time in his Formula 1 career, so fair play to him. Now on board with Lewis Hamilton, Freddie Gray cutting back across, had to slow down Lewis Hamilton a little bit. He had to be a bit cautious in that situation, and due to that, Lance Stroll made the move into P1, but fair play there. That worked out well for Williams in the end, even though Freddie had to concede first position, but now thankfully his teammate in the other Williams has now retaken the lead, so it's not all bad. Now Bottas here, who actually initially did overtake Freddie Gray, was actually eyeing up Lewis Hamilton as well heading into turn 1, but in fact in the end Bottas was locking up constantly, and Freddie Gray made that move stick up the inside, and Ricciardo also promoting himself ahead of Valtteri Bottas. You can see here from Ricciardo's perspective, he was always behind Bottas. He was probably going to eye him up anyway heading into turn number 1. Ricciardo here was sort of stuck, or sort of boxed in behind Valtteri Bottas. Bottas was forced wide by Freddie, but he was locking up in the process anyway, and Ricciardo made a swift overtake around the outside. Now on lap number 10, it does seem as if there is a car ahead pitting in. I believe that is Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. At the moment, Lance Stroll is opening up a gap. However, he was being challenged a little bit by Lewis Hamilton at the back end of that stint, so it'll be interesting to see where Hamilton actually rejoins, whether he is going to rejoin in some traffic that may cost him a bit of time. Freddie is due in at the end of this lap. Lap 11 is when he's going to come in for his, hopefully his one and only pit stop in this race. Now here is Jordan King we're looking at. I believe that's Lewis Hamilton there, rejoining just behind, and thankfully ahead, well not thankfully for Freddie, but in fact there's an engine problem for Jordan King. I was just going to say that Hamilton rejoined ahead of all that traffic behind, but Jordan King with an engine problem, and actually in fact that did deploy the virtual safety car, so that's going to neutralise the race. So thankfully Hamilton can't gain anything on Lance Stroll or Freddie Gray at this point, so that saved them almost. But Jordan King with another engine problem. That's his second engine failure of the season, I believe, and now Freddie's going to slow down under the virtual safety car and come into the pit lane for his first and only stop to go onto the soft tyres and take them to the end of the Grand Prix. I'll be interested to see where he rejoins relative to Lewis Hamilton. The crucial thing is here is that he doesn't rejoin in traffic like he did last time out in Monaco. I can't really predict to you guys, I can't say how annoyed Freddie would be if he was to rejoin behind all that traffic. Here they come now on the right hand side. There is Lewis Hamilton and there is Giovinazzi and Kevin Magnussen. Where is Freddie going to rejoin? Actually just behind Lewis Hamilton, but crucially ahead of the traffic, which is just what he wanted. And now he won't have any of those guys to conquer, so he can fully focus now on the task in hand, and that is challenging for the race fixtures. You can see here Ricciardo battling with the McLaren of Fernando Alonso. Ricciardo making that move stick, and in fact Alonso goes straight into the wall and he's lost one of his wheels by the looks of it, and Fernando Alonso is out of the race again. It just seems like a very similar incident to what Sebastian Vettel had very early on.
Right, Freddie, Lance is in the pits at the moment. You'll be racing him at the exit.
So as Lewis Hamilton sets the fast lap, Lance Stroll is now exiting the pit lane. Where will he emerge? He rejoins just behind Lewis Hamilton, but in the middle of Hamilton and Freddie Gray. So could this be the battle now to take us to the end of the Grand Prix? I assume now that these guys, these three here, will not be pitting again. And now on lap 14 we have caught up some traffic. Pierre Gasly there is now holding up Lewis Hamilton. That could give Lance Stroll and Freddie Gray an opportunity to challenge Lewis Hamilton and potentially overtake him, but again Gasly concedes quite easily. Obviously Manor basically being the Mercedes B team in this season, kind of almost gives Hamilton a free overtake without having to do much work at all. But now Lance Stroll thinking about going down the inside of Pierre Gasly there, but it backs off quite considerably at the last second. So Lance Stroll perhaps could have gone for that there, but it doesn't matter now because we will both have DRS. Both Freddie Gray and Lance Stroll, the two Williams, should be able to make the move here without any issue whatsoever. Lance Stroll going to the inside, and Freddie Gray might in fact go for both of them here, going free abreast here towards the final chicane. Freddie having to back off at the last seconds. That never would have worked whatsoever, but Pierre Gasly coming off worst out of all of that, and now Lance Stroll and Freddie Gray have made their way back up into P4 and P5 respectively. So essentially the current race order is Lewis Hamilton leading, followed by Lance Stroll and Freddie Gray. Max Verstappen is doing a two-stopper, so that's why he was so fast in the first stint, and now he is due to pit in the next few laps, so we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out. But at the moment, Lewis Hamilton seemingly is getting through all the traffic without an issue. He's just also passed Sergio Perez in the Force India. But now onto lap 18, Lance Stroll has now caught up to Sergio Perez, and he's now making the move, a very nice tidy manoeuvre there, up the inside of the hairpin. But Freddie once again struggling with his brakes at the hairpin, running an awful long way wide. And now he does have the DRS on Sergio Perez, so he should be able to make a move, not necessarily on this straight, but with the back-to-back DRS zones, certainly on the pit straight, I'd assume he'd be able to make a move stick. But yeah, guys, at this point, it is all about this battle for second, really, I'd say, between the two Williams cars. Lewis Hamilton at the moment seems too far ahead. His pace isn't absolutely electric, but I think he's a good, consistent level of, sort of pace ahead of us. He's about 1 to 2 tenths quicker than Lance Stroll and Freddie Gray per lap. So I'd assume that we'll see him come across the line, winning the race. You can see here, Verstappen has pitted now. He's in P4 with Daniel Ricciardo in P5. And now onto lap 24, unfortunately, just with the tyre wear and just the lack of pace that Freddie has, he fell away from his teammate Lance Stroll, and now he's under pressure from Max Verstappen. Heading into this chicane now, Verstappen actually makes the move there. Freddie Gray try and makes a move back, but actually has to go onto the grass. Just has so much understeer, and I believe front wing damage at this point as well, which kind of causes him to have so much understeer, and it makes it very difficult to go through the slow speed, sort of medium speed corners compared to Verstappen, who has maximum downforce. And realistically, Red Bull are the fastest team here this weekend, but for them, it's just a shame that they kind of cocked up their strategy a little bit. If Verstappen did the one stop, he would absolutely cruise through this race victory. And now to lap 29, Verstappen has pulled away by such a long margin, and it's now Daniel Ricciardo who's pressurising. But guys, unfortunately at this point, I'm going to be honest, the recording stopped. As you can see there, the recording stopped, and I actually ran out of space in my hard drive, which is unfortunate because I had to carry on the race anyway. But I can reveal to you guys that it did end exactly as it was there. Lewis Hamilton came through and won the race, with Lance Stroll scoring his first podium of his Formula 1 career with a P2 finish. Very strong for him, with Verstappen coming through in third. Freddie Gray in fourth, fending off Ricciardo and the late charging Bottas in the end. Esteban Ocon having a very quiet race, but coming up all the way from P13 into P7, which is a very good result for him, with the two Toro Rossos in the points, and Jolyon Palmer getting off the mark for Renault after starting in P20. I don't quite know how he managed that, but an incredible strategy from Renault, and fair play to them as well. Now in the Drivers' Championship, it is closer than ever. Lewis Hamilton leading with 107 points. However, Bottas is only 1 point back, and he's had quite a weak couple of races recently, which means he is now a point behind Lewis Hamilton, but the battle is still well and truly on. And Sebastian Vettel in front at the moment didn't score any points today whatsoever after his opening lap crash. Freddie Gray now in fourth on 70 points. Again, he's 37 points behind, but I wouldn't rule anything out just yet in terms of a possible championship charge come the end. Grosjean in 5th with Verstappen 6th, Ricciardo 7th. Both Red Bulls now elevated themselves ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn, with Lance Stroll now not too far behind on 40 points, and it's Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon now who round out the top 11. Now in the Constructors' Championship, there's not a huge amount of change. Mercedes still leading the way with 203 points, but Ferrari not scoring any points whatsoever. Vettel obviously having that opening lap crash, and Grosjean just having a complete shocker today, just having absolutely no pace whatsoever. Williams still in third, with Red Bull 4th, McLaren 5th, Force India in 6th, Toro Rosso increasing their points tally. Toro Rosso increasing their points tally to 13, with Haas with 5, Manor with 2, and Renault getting off the mark today with Jolyon Palmer with a single point, and Alfa Romeo still yet to get off the mark. So guys, if you have enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and leave your thoughts and comments down below. Sorry about the recording kind of stopping there at the end. It wasn't actually a particularly exciting end to the Grand Prix. It was more like Freddie just constantly defending from Ricciardo and no real overtakes were actually being made. So you didn't miss out on an awful lot, but I'll make sure next time the same problem doesn't occur. Hopefully it won't anyway. Once again guys, as I mentioned at the start of the video, don't be too surprised if these videos are sort of every other week. I do try my best to get one video out a week, but sometimes it can be quite tough. I am also planning on starting my own preview/review series for all of the F1 races. It's not going to be exactly your ordinary preview and review series that you've perhaps maybe seen in the past, so hopefully you guys look forward to that as well. So yeah, that's about it today guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.